Welcome to the Unexpected Podcast, where your hosts, Lee and Amy, carry on simple conversations about everything from life experiences, the current culture, God, and everything in between. And because Lee has put Amy through years of surprises, this is her time to surprise him with unexpected topics he won't be privy to until the microphone is on and the camera is rolling. This is the Unexpected Podcast. Hello.
Hey.
How's it going?
Oh, it's good.
Good. How are you guys doing out there?
That's good. I'm glad to hear it.
I wish we could hear, but you know what? Put some comments down in the comment section and let us know how you're doing out there. If you have any thoughts, just want to say hello. That would be really cool.
Or subscribe and like all of our videos.
Yeah.
Come on and just help us out here. Just do some stuff and let's get together and
good.
Raise a family.
Well, we did that.
Digital family. Yeah. I like that.
You know, we look like we're going on vacation or graduating. I'm not sure which.
I think it's a hodgepodge of all of our life wrapped into two different outfits.
Well, if you guys have watched or listened in the past, you might know that Lee likes to just wear different hats. He likes hats.
I like hats.
So today he's wearing his graduation cap. Graduation. Happy graduation.
Ah, yes. I've been graduated for 6 or 7 years. 6 years?
Yeah. Something like that.
For a while.
Yeah.
I was a lifelong student for a while.
Well, we are lifelong students because we're always learning something. And, of course, he's got a Hawaiian shirt on, which is always cool. And I just threw this hat on.
This was bought in Hawaii.
It was. At a thrift store in Hawaii.
That's right.
That's how we roll.
That's right. Thrift
in
store.
Hawaii. Yeah, that was a great recommendation from our friend who led the trip, because if you're going to Hawaii and you need a Hawaiian shirt, I mean, you just go to the thrift store because there's a gazillions of them.
In Honolulu, there's like 40,000 of them.
Yeah, so that was cool.
Then the flea market was awesome too.
Yeah.
You did like 50 shirts for $5 or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, and then I threw this hat on because, I don't know, it's one of those crazy hair days, and you said, just put this hat on.
I like that hat.
I know you really like it.
I do.
Well, we are going to talk about something today that I think is an exciting topic, and I think it applies to everyone to some degree. And I thought it would be really good just to talk about creativity and the creative process. And I've been reading some interesting things about creativity, and we'll get into it in a minute.
Wow. That's a cool subject. I had no idea that's what that was. So I just like dressed like a creative, you know.
Kind of creative.
A little creative. We got creative in our dress.
Yeah, and I just thought it would be important.
Not that I wear a dress, but I'd wear a kilt.
Yes, you would. You'd love to have a kilt.
I would. I would wear a kilt.
Yeah. Kilts are cool.
I have to talk to one of my professor friends that
he always wears a kilt.
He always was. Yeah.
All right. Well, and I thought this was important to talk about because, you know, pretty much everyone out there, I would say, has some inclination towards doing something creative. You know, maybe you like art, you're artistic. Maybe you enjoy writing, or you think you want to write, but you haven't had the courage to jump in and start doing it. Or you want to write songs, or you want to make movies. You want to get into photography. Whatever the case may be, I think a lot of times, and we're all guilty, sometimes we sit around and we wait for that moment when we feel inspired. And the truth is, those moments do sometimes come, but they're often few and far between, and you can't just wait around until you're feeling inspired.
Ah, yes.
You know, you have to just kind of jump in and do something towards your goal.
Inspire. Inspiration comes from what word?
Inspiration comes from inspire.
Yeah. But wasn't that like somebody brought it back to the breath of God?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Anyway, there was like
something we'll have to look into.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just a thought.
Yeah. But wouldn't you say, have you ever been to that place, which I know you have because I live with you and I'm there too at times. It's just like, not feeling it right now.
Plateau is what we call it.
Well, there are the plateaus. Yeah, when you're trying to, especially like as a musician, you reach a plateau like where you maybe learn something new and you kind of get to a like the next level a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it feels like you can't get to
the
next level. Yeah, you're kind of stuck.
You're stuck right
hence
there.
The name plateau.
Yeah. Stuck in a rut.
But, the thing is, if you will just pick up the instrument anyway when you're not feeling it.
Pick
up the notebook when you're not feeling it. Pick up the paintbrush when you're not feeling it. But also, don't be afraid to just kind of make something, even if it's going to be a disaster. Don't be afraid of what the end product is. And I'll tell you one quote that I came across the other day, which is actually from Linus Pauling, who was a scientist. But, creative minds work in science as well. And, this book that I was reading recently, it's actually called Sudden Genius, The Gradual Path to Creative Breakthroughs. But Linus Pauling said this. He said, the best way to have a good idea is to have lots of ideas.
Very true.
Yeah.
I've got so many lyrics in my songbook, my that I've just not even touched. I've gotten like a verse and a chorus and a chorus of one song and a verse of another song and then a bridge of another song. And then you try to mesh them all together, or you try to, pick and choose different ones to finish. And I mean, I probably got 100 songs that I've started or more.
Right.
And just never finished. And they're just sitting somewhere. I've got 3, 4, 5 notebooks.
Okay. But let me ask you this. Would you say you have more of a possibility of completing a song if you'll actually just go and maybe pull from those ideas, rather than not having any ideas written down?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes though I will come up with a riff on a guitar and lyrics will just come and I'll write a song in 10 minutes. And it's very simple. Other times it's like I've been working for 3 days and 10 years later I might finish it, and it just, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, that's one way, I guess, to look at it. But I think that, just doing something towards the goal rather than waiting for, there's not going to be a perfect moment.
No.
There's never, a perfect time. And time is another element too of the creative process because, we could sit around and say, well, I want to write a book someday, but I just don't have the time. But people who are very disciplined actually can be very prolific. Even in, I've listened to people talk about, I work this full-time job, but I dedicate every Saturday morning for 2 or 3 hours. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write.
That's what, you've heard the phrase, take your time. That doesn't mean go slow. That doesn't mean go fast. That means take the time that's needed for that moment. And if 2 hours are needed, take that time.
Yeah.
And set it aside. And that's, something I struggle with constantly because I'm just, with what we're going through right now, sometimes I'm just staring at the walls.
Yeah.
And
you're not yourself and you're not feeling
I don't feel
yourself.
all there. And so the creative part of me is kind of like it's dormant in a way. But I did find myself today doing a little bit of guitar work.
Yeah. Guitar
work.
Okay.
I figured I'd emphasize guitar. It's kind of like a guitar, but guitar. Not in Qatar. But that's something that sometimes I'll just pick up and a melody will just come to me. And I'm like, this would make a great song. Now, what would I say with this? What is the guitar saying through me? What am I saying through the guitar? And there's a lot of different factors to that. But taking the time to do the things, like you gave me a list of pentatonic scales and the 5 modes to practice on.
Yeah.
I've been practicing on mode 2 of the pentatonic scale. And I've just been working on it. And is it something that I'm excited about? No, I'd rather just jam with people.
Well, and let me say this to people about the way you play music, everyone is different. There are some,
Right.
I mean, there are some really well-known guitarists out there in really successful bands, and they don't really know much music theory.
Right.
But
That'd
they
be me.
found a way, through their ear, whatever the case may be. But then there are others who have actually, I know of some musicians who actually got started and had a music career, but then realized, hey, but I can take this to another level if I'll learn some more things.
Yes.
And that's kind of
The
where you are, because you
discipline.
kind of have your own style,
I
and you know
do.
a lot, and intuitively you know a lot of music theory, but now you're learning more.
I'm solidifying my knowledge, really, is all it is. And
Yeah.
it's rather comical that I'm wearing this thing here, because I'm constantly in education. I'm always learning, and I'm always wanting to learn. There's new concepts and different things that come up. I've been doing study and different things on how to be a chemical operator, and at a chemical plant, So I've learned some stuff. Now, am I proficient at it? I'm not bad, but I'm not anywhere close to where a lot of guys are in that job.
Yeah.
But it's fun to me to learn more and to be a part of something bigger.
Yeah. Well, learning new things is, it's
That's
satisfying.
why I love audio more than I love anything that I do. I love
Right.
audio
Right.
and music, and being able to the theories of sound and
So
projection.
let's
and
go
all
back
that.
to the beginning of that, when we were first married, and you would talk about wanting to get recording equipment.
Oh yeah.
What do you think? First of all, when did you know that you wanted to get into recording and audio production and that sort of thing? And then where do you think that desire came from?
I got to visit a little recording studio when I was growing up, that was in Central City, Kentucky. There was two different studios that I was able to be a part of and go and do something with. Well, one of them I was a part of because I paid money to go and record there and got a little demo tape.
And you were how old at that point?
19, something like that, 18.
And his voice was really high compared to how it is now.
Man, my voice has gotten a lot deeper. But then there was this other place that I went, and this guy, but I think Wee Brown was his name, what everybody called him, but he had a recording studio there, and so a lot of different people from the old days recorded there, evidently. And I wanted to go and record there, so I went and played guitar for him, and checked out some different things there, and tried to break into that. And then I moved to Nashville, and I, got my nose busted there, and kind of got to
That's
meet
never
a few
happened
people.
to anybody.
No, but going to Nashville and learning what Gaylord Entertainment was and what they did, and how playing at little bitty little bitty shop, or not shops, restaurants, little places
Little
around
venues.
town, little venues, taught me the ropes of how resilient you have to be in the music industry, and how much of a leather-skinned person you have, water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
I was able to be hang out a couple times. I say a couple times. We were over at her house quite a bit. But Joni, I guess her name was Joni Jenkins. She was Conway Twitty's daughter. And I was able to stay there, go over her house, and just kind of hang out with them. But, talked a little bit about different things. But anyway, if you're out there, Joni, thank you for the advice that you did give me. But I've taken her advice. I've taken a lot of different people's advice, from Nashville, from back home, from here, and other musicians that I've met in churches, and the country scene, the rock scene, and I've kind of been molded into where I am now. And so I think that's part of it, is being sociable. Going out and learning how other people do it just by being there. Going and hanging out at the venues, and being a part of the crew. And we ran sounds with the boys since they were 5, 6 years old. We'd go out and we'd set up in the middle of nowhere and just play music. And we'd have concerts and put on our own concerts. And we, I think the biggest crowd I ever played in front of was at J-Fest, and that was, 7,000 people or something like that. And that was a one-time gig.
Yeah.
Played a little bit of a lead on a couple of songs, for about, 30 minutes or 40 minutes. But,
it doesn't matter. That's the thing. If you're waiting for the big audience and you're not willing to go to the small audience.
You got to go to the small ones before you get to the big ones. That's just part of it.
Right.
And you can't go out thinking you're the cat's meow either. Man, every time I get on stage, I feel like my stomach's going to just erupt, and every time I always have to go pee right before I get up on stage. It's just
pretty normal.
I have to every time. I don't know what it is. I was just nervous. But once I get up there, it's like a switch turns on. And I'm not Lee Mercer, the guy that goes around is a little, odd and weird. I'm like the performer, and I enjoy performing.
You step into it.
And I step into that mode, and it's like a different person, different mode. Yeah. When I get up there,
but it's also the real you. It's a part of you coming out and getting expressed. And so, and I want to just tie this into whatever our listeners may be interested in. What because we're talking about music specifically at the moment, but this applies to just about any area of creativity that you want to get involved in. And here's another part of it. When you said, I want to create a recording studio, well, I thought that's preposterous. I mean, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, you have it in your heart to do something, and people around you may not understand it, but, you just get started and start taking the steps.
And now we have a studio that's worth quite a bit of money. Yeah. And, we've got a lot invested in this studio, and we've recorded some famous people and a lot of different recording artists. Zach just the other week, has used our studio, and we're set up for Dolby Atmos, which is the up and coming spatial audio mixing platform. Right. We use Pro Tools. We are state of the art on most everything that we do. And we mix television shows and movies and documentaries and
but it
music.
took a lot of years.
It has taken since 2003.
A lot of patience.
Yeah. So what was that, 20 years now? It's 20 years.
Yeah.
We started 20 years ago.
Yeah. So
and we finally have gotten to a point to where the room is tuned. It sounds good. It's at an industry standard, and we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. And I'm not bragging. That's a testament to God, because really I couldn't have done it without God and other people.
Yeah.
If you have been a part of helping create One Strum Media, One Strum Records, or a part of helping us to help others create, thank you.
Yeah.
You know who you are. We've had a lot of friends throughout the years that are fantastic. They're not only friends, they're family. And they step up.
Well, that's what we call it, the One Strum family.
It is, really. If you're a part of the One Strum family, leave a comment. I want you guys to let everybody know who you are, and just tell your story in our comment. With this one.
Yeah. Now I want to jump into something, because I mentioned this book that I was reading through the other day, and the book talks about something that I had never heard of. Maybe you've heard of it. I had never heard of it. But it's something called the 10-year rule. Okay. And so let me tell you a little bit about this. This was so interesting, I thought. The 10-year rule this term was first coined in the 80s, I believe, by some psychologists and psychologists doing research. But the idea started to formulate even back in the 60s and 70s, when they started to notice that various people didn't really hit a breakthrough in whatever their area was until about 10 years after they got started.
Oh, yeah.
So they first started noticing this in master chess players, people who are really good at chess. It's like they got really good, but it wasn't until about 10 years after they got started. The same with Olympic swimmers. So the way they define this is basically, this is the idea that a person must persevere with learning and practicing a craft or discipline for about 10 years before he or she can make a breakthrough breakthrough in that area. And, they found that really few breakthroughs happen sooner. Now, I mean, there's always going to be exceptions.
Absolutely.
But what's interesting as well is, and they give all kinds of examples. They gave examples of scientists who had breakthroughs.
Right.
They talk about architects. They talk about all kinds of different things. But I wanted to focus on a couple of examples because it happens a lot in the arts. So like the famous poet Percy Shelley, his famous works like Prometheus Unbound weren't written until about 10 years after he actually started writing poetry.
Oh, okay.
Same is true with Ernest Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises, which I actually reread in the last year and a half or so.
Yeah.
That book was written 10 years after he started writing fiction. Then they give some musical examples. Stravinsky's Rite of Spring was composed in 1912, 10 years after he started interning under another composer.
Right.
And then the other example they gave was the Beatles. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album came out 10 years after Paul McCartney and John Lennon started playing music together.
Okay.
And so I thought that was just kind of interesting,
Yeah.
that, hey, we're not going to have the big breakthroughs right away.
Right.
And for some, maybe it takes longer than 10 years. But let me ask you this.
Okay.
When you released your last album, so you released an EP and then you had the album.
Yeah.
What year was that? Do you remember?
2017?
Something like that. 2018?
2018?
I can't even remember. So see, you're just getting started.
Right.
Isn't that
yeah.
cool?
Yeah, it is.
And
that was the second album.
yeah. Yes, the first full album.
First full one, yeah.
Yeah. So
Another one on its way, by the way.
That's right. That's right. So I just thought that was pretty cool, and again, I think the idea is you just got to get started, take the steps toward whatever it is that you're passionate about.
I mean, I'll be honest, my first EP, I'm kind of embarrassed by it. And I think that's typical of every artist. It's like it's like, that was just an experiment.
Have you ever, one artist that I really, I like his music a lot, John Cougar Mellencamp.
Yep.
Or whatever you want to call him, John Mellencamp. His first album, it's garbage, another band that we like, the Avett Brothers. I mean, they are so good. They even make fun of their first album. They're like, we weren't even in, like, our rhythm was off. We were,
Right.
You just get started.
You just do it.
Yeah.
And I'll, a good friend, family member, distant family member, whatever you want to call him, Nathan Danzler. Nathan, thank you for all of the things you've told us. We appreciate you. Nathan's dad was a mentor to us. And, but Olivia, we love you. But Nathan said, you move on. He said, don't look at what you're doing. He had told, I was interning with at his studio at one point, and he said, don't look at what you've done. Move on. If you messed up on it, do better next time. Don't go back and revisit. Don't do all that stuff.
Just move on.
Just move on to the next thing and get better at it. Learn from the last one and move on. And that's something that blessed me was being able to be a part of doing something with him. Didn't do much, but I got to watch mix. He mixes a lot of masters a lot of the music that you guys hear on the radio. And thehitlab.com if you want to find out about the Hit Lab. If you're a musician, you need some mastering done. Nathan Danzler is at the Hit Lab, probably the best in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And tying on to something you said, I think it was the music producer Rick Rubin. I read a quote that he said the other day, and it was basically like, the reason to finish what you're working on is so that you can get to the next thing.
Yeah.
And I love that because I have just completed my first ever novel. It'll be out in a little while, and we'll let you guys know all about it. But one thing that excites me, well, a couple of things. I'm excited to get it out there because I think it's a fun story that I think people are going to enjoy. But also, I get to start on something else.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a good feeling
to
just get out there and finish something.
and I've learned something else. You've got to stay positive in all of this, because if you get down and negative, I have a case manager for the situation that I'm in, and she keeps telling me, you can't get down. You can't get down. You have to stay positive and really, don't get into mully grubs and get all sad and everything because you're going through all this, medical stuff. Yeah. And I appreciate that, but on the other hand, it's easy to get down on yourself and say, you know what, why am I even doing this? Why don't I just be, I'm just going to go be normal. Well, what is normal?
Right.
Ain't nobody normal. We ain't normal. You guys ain't normal. Ain't nobody normal.
Sometimes I just want to grab a bag of chips, go sit in front of the television, and just forget about it all.
Forget about the world.
And we do that sometimes, and that's fine.
Nothing wrong with going and
but we don't
chilling.
Stay there.
No, we don't. And you've got to keep moving forward. You got to, progress forward and get things done. But, with all that, I've done better because I haven't throat punched anybody, and I'm not, talking about it too much. But,
let me clarify. I've never seen him punch anybody. So
no, I haven't been in a fight in years. Sometimes I feel like I need to be slapped in the back of the head, so, yep.
We need a sound effect.
Because I get stuck, like, nobody's going to listen to my stuff. Nobody's going to listen to what I'm playing. Nobody's going to hear my stuff. Well, the marketing is just going to be rough. I'm just not going to be able to market. That doesn't matter. There may be one or two people that hear it. I got plays in Quebec. I got plays in Hong Kong.
You regularly get plays, on the music that you've released in England. You're very popular.
Yeah.
Peru, of all places. Yeah.
How do I get played in Peru? Why? Who's listening to me in Peru?
Somebody really likes your version of Send the Fire lately, because we get to see who's listening and where they're listening. And he redid the old hymn, Send the Fire.
Yeah.
And
written by William Booth, the founder of the Salvation Army. Yep.
Yeah. So somebody's liking it. So
well, good.
Go listen to his music.
Maybe it's spurring on some.
We'll put a link to Lee's music. And when we say Lee's music, it's Lee Mercer, but it's the family band playing too.
It's really everybody. It's all of us.
Playing.
You on the bass, Luke on the drums, Joseph on the keys or guitar, doing something, singing back up, Luke singing back up.
Yep.
So it's a family ordeal.
That's
and
right.
a few friends. Co Ito's on one of them.
So. All right. Well, you know what? I think that might wrap it up for today. I just thought it's so important to talk about creativity,
Absolutely.
to encourage one another. I hope that you all will be encouraged.
Yes.
In whatever it is that you enjoy creating, whatever you find yourself doing, just be encouraged and just take the baby steps or the big steps, whatever is working for you that day.
Yeah. Well,
all right. Is that it?
Smile our way out of here.
Yeah. All right, you guys, we will see you next time. Don't forget to like this video and please subscribe to our channel. Drop your comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you prefer audio podcasts, please follow us on your favorite streaming platform.